So 12.2 matrix. Multiplication. And I'm going to squeeze in. There we go. All right. So the first part, however, is you're multiplying by a scalar. Maybe we're finishing a whole equation. All right. So, for example, if I have something that looks like this. Let's say I have 3 times the matrix. Let's go 2, 0, negative 1, 5. Minus 2x equals negative 10, 5, 0, 17. We are trying to find matrix X. This is what we're looking for. Okay? Matrix X is going to have to be a 2 by 2. It's the only way you can add things together, right? So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to set up 4 small equations to find X. The first equation, if I start at the beginning, is 3 times 2, which is 6, minus 2x equals negative 10. And now I'm going to ask for you to solve this first little itty equation. So I'm going to subtract 6 to the other side. I have negative 2x equals negative 16. Dividing by negative 2, what is going to be the first element in matrix X? 8. Good. X equals 8. It's going to be our first one. Now let's move on to A12 spot. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to do the next spot. 3 times 0, which is 0, minus 2x equals what?
0. Or minus
5.
5.
We want to make sure we're doing the same spot in all of them, right? So now solving this, obviously I don't need to subtract 0. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2, and I get x equals negative 5 halves. We're going to go negative 5 halves. Thanks, Doe. So then here we have 3 times negative 1, which is negative 3, minus 2x equals 0. I'm going to go ahead and add 3 to the other side. So negative 2x equals 3. Divide by negative 2. And we get x equals negative 3 halves. And so what is the equation for the very last spot in our matrix X? 15 minus 2x equals 17. Very good. Move that up a little bit. So I'm going to subtract 15 to the other side. I have negative 2x equals 2. Divide both sides by negative 2. And I get x equals negative 1. So when I write my matrix, I'm going to say x equals my 2 by 2 matrix. In the first spot, I have 8. In the second spot, I have negative 5 halves. In A21 spot, I have negative 3 halves. And in A22, I have negative 1. Sure? Huh? Sounds about right? Okay. So this is the first half of today's assignment. Let me narrow it down a little bit more. So in the first few problems, so here's example number 1. From, let's go 8 through, let's start with 8 through 14. I'm going to tell you that A equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. B equals negative 1, 7, 0, 2, 2, 5. And now we're going to go 3B plus A. Now, you can type it all in your calculator. You can actually put this in your calculator, hit equals, and it'll give you an answer. However, sometimes that's longer than just doing it, right? I'm going to go ahead and write this. I'm first going to multiply by 3 times B and put that here. So if I go 3 times negative 1, I get negative 3. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times 5 is 15. And I'm going to add it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are the same dimensions. Remember, our dimensions are row by column. So we're going to start by adding our A11 spots together. So we have -3 plus 1, -2. Then we're going to add our A12 spot together, which is 21 plus 2, which is 23. Very good. Oh, that's a 3. Then I have 0 plus 3, which is 3. Second row, A21 is 6 plus 4, which is 10. 6 plus 5 is 11. Yes, 15 plus 6 is 21. That is all you're doing for the first 1, 2, 3, 4 problems. Okay? Any questions on that? You guys want another example? Are you okay if you had to multiply both matrices and add them together? We're good? Okay. Example number 2 then. In example number 2, this is 16 and 18, or 16 through 18. Solve the matrix equation. So let's say I have 3x plus 1724 equals, 6, -1, 5, 0. So if I'm solving for a matrix X, what dimensions is that matrix going to be? A 2 by 2. Very good. It's going to be a 2 by 2, right? And we are actually going to write it as 4 little tiny equations. The first one is 3x plus element A11, which is 1, equals element A11 over here. So I'm going to subtract 1 to the other side, so I get 3x equals 5. So x equals 5 thirds. There's my first spot in my matrix. Now I'm going to go to A12, so I have 3x plus 7 equals -1. Subtract 7 to the other side, we have 3x equals -8. So x equals -8 thirds. Again, we're leaving them as improper fractions, no decimals. Next one I have is 3x plus A21, which is 2, equals 5. Subtract 2 to the other side, we get 3x equals 3, and x equals 1. And the last one, we have 3x plus 4 equals 0. So we have 3x equals -4. So x equals -4 thirds. And of course, you've got to finish by writing your answer in a matrix, a 2 by 2. So we have 5 thirds, -8 thirds, 1, and -4 thirds. Are there any questions so far? So we've talked about multiplying, right, a matrix by a number, or a scalar number on the outside. Now we actually have to talk about multiplying matrices together. It is a different, unique kind of beast. You don't just get to multiply the elements. It's not how it gets to work. All right? So, to multiply, matrices together, the columns, the number of columns in first one must equal the number of rows in second one. So, for example, if I have my first matrix, if I'm multiplying them together, if my first one is a 3 by 2, so that's 3 rows by 2 columns, and my second one is a 2 by 3, the number of columns has to match the number of rows in the second one. See how these are the same? If they are the same, we get to multiply them. These are going to cancel out, and our answer is going to be a 3 by 3. Okay? If maybe the first one is a 2 by 1, so 2 rows by 1 column, and the second one is a 1 by 3, again, you'll notice the columns of the first one are the same as the rows of the second one. Those will cancel, and when we multiply, we're going to get a 2 by 3. All right? Try one more. Let's say I have a 2 by 4, and I want to multiply it by a 4 by 1. So this is 2 rows, 4 columns. This is 4 rows, 1 column. Again, my inside numbers match, so I get to multiply these together, and my end result will be a 2 by 1. Okay? Now, here's how it works. If I am multiplying, we're going to do an easy one to start with. Let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to multiply that by, let's go 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay? This first one is a 2 by 2, 2 rows by 2 columns. The second one I'm multiplying by is 2 rows by 2 columns. And see, these match. I'm going to cross that out, and that means my answer is going to be a 2 by 2. All right, are we all good so far? All right. So remember, this is 2 rows by 2 columns is what we're going to do. This first row, when we multiply, you are going to multiply row 1 by column 1. So technically this first spot, let me say it this way, this first spot in the matrix is A11, right? So that's going to tell us we're going to multiply row 1 by column 1. And you're going to be adding them together. So we're going to multiply this row by this column, adding them together. Okay, so let me write it all so you guys have or can see how it's happening. So I'm taking 1 times 5, and I'm adding it to 2 times 7. So it's 19 in the first spot. The second spot, this spot is A12. So that means I'm multiplying row 1 by column 2. So I'm going to go 1 times 6 plus 2 times 8. It is 22. So what is the name of this element right here? 2, 1, which means it's row 2, column 1. So row 2, now we're going to do this one, and column 1. So we have 3 times 5 plus 4 times 7. Come on, Logan, you're helping me out there.
Oh, yeah, so that'd be 15 plus 28, we should round even know, 43.
Very good. All right, and in our last spot, this is A22, which means row 2, column 2. So we are taking this row and timesing it by this column. Okay? So I have 3 times 6 plus 4 times 8. So 18 plus 32?
50.
Yay! All right, so any questions so far? We're all doing good? Okay, so we're on example number 3, correct? All right, here we go with example number 3. This is your 20 through 28. Directions say find each product. There we go. Let's go with, how about -174. And I'm going to multiply that by 2, 7. What are the dimensions of my first matrix? 3 by 1. Very good. What are the dimensions of my second matrix?
1 by 1.
1 by 2. 1 row, 2 columns. So I can multiply these together. My end result is going to be a 3 by 2. Exactly. Okay? I'm going to move this up. Ooh, not quite that far, though. Oh. So I'm going to have 3 rows and 2 columns. So this first spot is the A11 spot. So that means row 1, column 1. So this is row 1 right here, right? This is column 1. So row 1 times column 1, or -1 times 2. -2. Now for this spot, I have A12, row 1, column 2. So this is -1 times 7, or -7. Next, we have A21. So this is row 2 times column 1. 7 times 2. 14. Very good. Then we have row 2, column 2. That's 7 times 7, or 49. And the last one, we're going to take row 3. We're going to times it by column 1. So this is 4 times 2, or 8, and 4 times 7, which is 28. All right, so I would like to do number 20 together. Okay? Number 20. So we're going to put it right into your homework. You guys ready? No, this time I want you to start with it on your homework, right here. Number 20. All right, so that's exactly what it looks like in your book. Find the product. We're multiplying them together. So this one is a 2 by 2. This one is also a 2 by 2. Again, we can multiply them because they're the same, right? And my end result is going to be a 2 by 2. So, I like to write it inside the matrix. Some students don't like that. So it's up to you which way you like better. I'm going to do this one doing it the other way that I've seen some students prefer it. So here's my end matrix, right? It's a 2 by 2. That's where I'm getting to. So we're going to start by doing this spot. This is my A11 spot, which means row 1, column 1. So I'm multiplying row 1 times column 1, which is 1 times negative 3 plus 0 times 5. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3 plus 0, so I have a negative 3 in the first spot. This spot right here is the A12 spot, which means I'm taking row 1 and column 2. So that's 1 times 4 plus 0 times 2. That's 4, right? Okay, this spot is the A21 spot. So that's going to be row 2, column 1. So 2 times negative 3 plus negative 3 times 5.
Negative 21, right?
Yes, negative 21. And the last spot, the A22 spot, means I'm doing row 2, column 2. So that is 2 times 4 plus negative 3 times 2. So it's kind of a different way to multiply. Matrices are special. Do we have any questions? Okay. All right. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead on the rest of them, and I'm available. You got over 10 minutes.